Hello and welcome to my knife channel. Well, I didn't think I'd be doing another knife video today, but a Smoky Mountain Knife Works order came in, so I guess I'll be doing an unboxing. Now, the reason I'm going to do this is I just wanted to show you that it's not to show off, oh, look, I got all these knives and stuff. It's more of to convey how much joy I get out of this. And I think one of the people that does one of the best jobs on conveying that is Patty's Potato Peelers, because you can tell, man, he really loves his knives and just gets a lot of joy out of it. The most expensive knife, folding knife that I've bought is this Spyderco Sage 5 lightweight. It's like over $100, you know, for this knife delivered. Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and it's still a great knife. But you know what? This package here costs, I think, like $30. So I get just as much fun, if not more, from getting a couple of knives, even if they're traditional and not fancy and all that other stuff, because yeah, that's just the way it goes. I like knives. I don't care. My problem with traditionals before is I grew up around them, and that's all we had. We had no choice. So my only variety is what type of traditional do you want, you know? You had no flipper choice, you know? This was considered like a switchblade, illegal. You couldn't have it. If you caught with it, you might as well be carrying a gun, because you're going to do some serious time and stuff. But anyways, I'm rediscovering traditionals, and they're a lot of fun. I've never gotten one of the classic carbon series, so I did this. What I'm doing is I'm collecting not only patterns, but sometimes styles and stuff, you know, like I had another Tobacco Road, and I really liked it and the way they did the brass nails and everything. And so I thought, ooh, I want to get another one of those. So what I do is I get another one, and if I'm doing a collection, I'll try to get it. So what we have here is my old saber knife. And these are made in Japan. Back then, you know, when everybody was talking about how now everybody's talking about cheap Chinese knives, people were always talking about cheap Japanese knives. And these were usually displayed up in, you know, like a display case with a glass cover on it. And I think I was probably like 10 or 11 years old before I got this knife. And I'm in my 60s now, so this would be in the late 60s. Anyways, they come like this. They come all shiny and everything. But if you don't oil them, which I usually didn't, or even if you just use them to cut stuff like that, they'll develop, this is called like a patina. And it's basically a darkening of the blade. If you let it go on, it's going to develop rust, which is like this. But if you knock it off and get it, after a while, the surface will like oxidize, but not completely rust, and it'll develop a patina. And some people don't like that, so all you got to do is just take care of it, oil it, and it'll stay shiny like this all the time. I like the patina. I like that when it works on brass too, or copper, because it starts aging and it makes it unique. It has a distinctive characteristic. Now this one really does need to be oiled and everything. I might get in there and knock a little bit of the rust out and everything, but I'm leaving it like this. I'm not going to take it to a buffing wheel and shine it up or anything, because this is what we had as a kid. We didn't have case. We didn't have fancy special knives or anything like that. Most of the time, I saved up from mowing yards and stuff to get this knife, and I think it was like $5 back then, and whoa, that was a lot of money. You know, you had to mow a whole yard, and it wasn't just like get on a riding lawnmower. No, it was push, and the knife that I used was a little sickle type of blade. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why I like the knives is nostalgia, because this is what you would carry around in your pocket. Sometimes you wouldn't remember to remove it. It would get washed in the laundry. But it's just a basic folding knife that has two blades. That's why I don't know. This is not a copperhead. I don't know what you would call this. Just basically, you know, you have a long, slender, almost Warncliffe type of blade there as your main blade, and then the second one is like a pen blade, but it's longer than a pen knife. Anyways, forget about that one. Well, look at this one right here, and yeah, I like it. The yellow handle, some people say it's supposed to simulate aged ivory, and then other people say that yellow handles have been around for quite a while, so it's not necessarily as if they were simulating aged ivory. So you can take, you know, I'm not a complete history buff. I'll research as much as I can, and usually I rely on Tobias as my history on a lot of this stuff, because he does a very thorough job on whenever he researches a knife or reviews a knife. All right, we're going to set that one right there, and then we're going to open up this other one, Tobacco Road, and this one is a pattern that, let's see if I can get the right, you got to be smarter than the object you're looking at. Yeah, it's magnetic. A Congress. I always thought a Congress, because of the multi-blades, would have been a huge knife, kind of like one of those overly huge Swiss Army knife, Super Explorer, whatever, you know, that's got like 800 blades. But they can actually make them fairly compact. And it's a matter of bending the blades to make them fit in there a lot of times. And there's a lot of thought process that went into this particular pattern. Even that little arch down here, even though it helps the blades like line up, when it's in your hand, it just fits. I don't know. There's just something about them. But anyways, let's look at this one. We have a nice little cheap split blade here. Back in the good old days, Tobacco Road. What I did on the last one that I got, it was the bow trapper. I got in here and I cleaned out all these little groove marks, because they had a lot of buffing compound and polishing compound in there. And I also noticed that one of mine had a defect. Like, they had little holes right here where they would line up their nails, and then somebody would, looks like, physically nail them in. Somebody was off on one of mine, and it was up a little bit. So let's just make sure our nails are right. But yeah, that's really a very cool pattern. It's very distinctive, pretty unique. You can feel a little bit of sharp edges, you know, when you do this. What I like to do is I take some sandpaper or that buffing stone that I've got, that foam, and I just go back and forth. Now, the problem is, if it was an expensive knife, metal has a grain pattern to it, and if you start scratching it and everything, how they buffed it and everything, you're going to change that. But this, it doesn't matter, you know. But you can see that little edge right there? I can actually feel that with my fingers. The transition right here between the stone and the bolster is smooth. I don't feel anything on this side. I don't feel anything on this side. This is more of the way I wish they would have kept the pattern on both sides of the covers. That color, that kind of like mottled tobacco. This one is so dark, it's almost just looking like just brown bone rather than tobacco bone. And this is supposed to be like a tobacco leaf shape over here. All right, so we've got, what I like about this is we've got a nice little drop / spear point. I think probably closer to a drop point on here. But instead of having just a bunch of sheep foots like they had on the other versions, this one's different. It's got a nice little pin blade. I think the other one had a pin blade, but you got a sheep's foot and then a pin blade. All right, let me do this properly. All right, I'll open this one all the way out. I'll open this one all the way out. I'll flip it over. I'd said before I've never cut myself on a, like mess around. Never recently cut myself with a traditional knife. And then the other day I was messing around with the Congress, and after I'd finished, I had this little cut here, and it was so sharp I didn't even notice it until, it's right at a knuckle joint. I noticed it, but yeah, they'll get you, and it's usually if you're trying to do something like this, like a display or something. But anyway, let's continue this. All right, yeah, so we've got one sheep's foot, and then the rest are pointy, kind of like spear type of blades with nice little swedge on the top. Long nail strike pulls that I like. So let's fold this back up over like this. Yeah, pretty nice. Pretty nice. I like it. It's small enough. You're getting the advantage of 4 blades. I mean, so if you don't like sharpening, or you want to dedicate one to do one task and one to do another, or if you, for whatever reason, you're basically getting like 4 knives in the size of one. This is probably the upper limit that I would go with the number of blades. I mean, they make bigger ones, 5, 6 maybe, I don't know, but you're going to have to make it wider to fit more stuff in there, and then it stops losing its fitting in the hand slenderness type of feeling. Anyway, sorry I bumped that again. But, yeah, I really like these. This is going to, like I said, I didn't have a carbon. I'm going to see what I can do about that. I'll probably just sand that out, or it might just be rouge. Like I said, I haven't. Yeah, it's coming off. Yeah, I like this. I'm gonna have to get some more classic carbons, and this will go with my other doctor knives. And I've now got 3 Congresses, so I'll probably stop collecting the Congress pattern, because, unless I'm going after some series or something. But there you go. There's a little old school, new school, modern take on traditional knives. Like I said, right now I'm in this traditional knife kick where I'm really rediscovering patterns that my own bias in my head prevented me from even discovering Spyderco. For the longest time I looked at this, even though this has got a better leaf shape, but like on the Delica, I just looked at that hole and went, ugh, why? It's so ugly, whatever. And then when I got my first Delica and I opened it up and I felt it, I went, oh yes, that's why that hole, it's just so perfect deployment. And so I had skipped, I could have had a lot of the new early model Spydercos and had a big collection of Spydercos to show you, but no, I only recently discovered them like a year and a half or so ago. And traditional knives, same bias, prevented me from collecting or even going with traditional knives. Once I got past this, it was like, good, flippers or something modern. Well, now these are not considered switchblades. And the whole time forgetting that, hey, these work perfectly fine for cutting tasks for generations, I don't want to sound like Mr. Old Fogey who's like, oh, I just keep my old traditional knife and that's it. No, I can go with modern stuff. I mean, I worked on computers even, I'm not one of those, worked at Intel, so I mean, I made computer chips. So, yeah, there's still something to be said about traditional knives, and I think the main thing is is this is more function. There's not really, I mean, yeah, it's kind of artistic in its leaf shape, but it looks like the canoe pattern, doesn't it? It has a kind of canoe shape to it, you know? And the only claim to fame is better steel and deploys faster, but it still cuts just like a old school knife cuts, you know? I have yet to run into a situation where I've needed to cut like 400 feet of cardboard without sharpening my knife. You know, it's nice to have. I'm just saying. These don't cost much and they're not as glamorous and everything, but if you have got a bias against traditional knives, you're missing out on a lot of fun in knives, because you can get us, you know, a collection of small knives for, you get 4, maybe 5 small knives for the price of one modern flipper, and not even this high end. I'm talking like, you know, something smaller, like a $30 to $50 range budget knife. So anyway, enough of my rambling there. Just don't be like me on knives and stuff, and just say, you know, I used to have those as a kid. I don't want those. I want the modern flashy stuff, you know. Sometimes the old stuff sticks around because besides being functional, it's like it's got character to it, you know. I mean, you can get different handle styles, and yeah, you're not going to get super duper S9000 V100 steel that cuts through titanium like butter and everything, but I don't really need to cut through titanium like butter with a knife very often. So thank you for watching my ramblings. Hope you have a nice day. On these blades here, I didn't notice that there was a dent there, but there is on all of the ones except for the one that has the frosting on it. Each one of them has a little dent that it'll sharpen out. I think it's just the way they were stored. Later on, I line up the blades, and you can see that it was like they were in a rack or something, you know, that the dents line up except for the one that doesn't have it. See there? They're where they're matching up, same height when they're in the blade. That one is harder to see, and like I said, the main blade doesn't have it. You can see better with the reflected light. Anyway, just a minor thing.